What happened to you? Admiral Zextor demanded. What did they do to you? They showed us something we had never considered, Krasvorn replied. An alternative to the cycle of expansion, conquest, and inevitable collapse that has defined galactic civilization for millennia. Elder Kvex's ancient eyes narrowed. Explain. High Counselor Chen rose from his seat. Throughout human history, we observed a pattern. Civilizations that expand rapidly through conquest inevitably collapse under their own weight. Those that isolate themselves stagnate and eventually die. We sought a third path. Incorporation. Lion Sora whispered. Precisely, Counselor Vasquez confirmed. We developed technologies and social structures focused not on expansion or isolation, but on absorption and synthesis. When we encountered the physics of faster-than-light travel, we did not use it to spread outward. Instead, we created systems to detect and welcome those who would eventually find us. Admiral Krasvorn's mandibles clicked softly. When we arrived as conquerors, they showed us the fundamental flaw in our empire's philosophy. Conquest creates resistance. Resistance leads to instability. Instability leads to collapse. It is mathematically inevitable. So instead of resisting you, they'd welcomed you. Lion Sora asked. They offered us knowledge, Krasvorn continued. Not just technological knowledge, but understanding of ourselves and our place in the cosmos. They showed us how the Empire's path would lead to our own destruction within a few thousand cycles, and they offered an alternative. Elder Kvex's hovering exoskeleton shifted as he leaned forward. But why remain isolated? If your philosophy is superior, why not share it with the galaxy? A smile passed between the human counselors. But we have been, Chen replied softly. Through those who find us. Understanding dawned on Lion Sora's face. The seeds, the fragments that spread throughout the galaxy after contact with Earth. That's your method. Every species that encounters Earth and chooses to join us sends representatives back to their civilization. Vasquez explained, not as conquerors or even obvious revolutionaries, but as traders, diplomats, storytellers, carrying ideas that slowly reshape those civilizations from within. A mimetic transformation rather than a military one, Elder Kvex murmured. Ingenious and patient beyond measure. Human lifespans are brief by galactic standards, Chen said. We learn to think in terms of centuries and millennia rather than immediate gains. The transformation of galactic civilization cannot be rushed without recreating the very cycles of violence and collapse we seek to transcend. Admiral Zextor's cybernetic eyes focused intently on the Vraxian admiral. And you truly joined them willingly, all of you. Krasvorn's compound eyes met the admiral's mechanical ones. Consider the alternative. We came to conquer a seemingly defenseless world. We expected resistance, hatred, fear. Instead, we found beings who had spent centuries preparing specifically for our arrival, who knew our language, our biology, our cultural preferences, not to destroy us more efficiently, but to make us feel welcome. He gestured around the chamber. They could have developed weapons to obliterate our fleet the moment we entered their system. Instead, they built reception centers designed for our comfort, created art in our cultural traditions, prepared food suited to our biology. How do you combat such an approach? With weapons? Against those who offer only friendship. What would that make us? Silence fell over the chamber as the delegates absorbed this perspective. Finally, Elder Kvex spoke, his ancient voice carrying the weight of centuries. You spin a beautiful tale, but one question remains unanswered. What happens to those few who choose not to join you? Surely not all visitors embrace your philosophy. High Counselor Chen nodded gravely. A fair question, Elder. Those who wish to depart are free to do so, carrying knowledge of us back to their civilizations. In fact, we count on it. You want your secret revealed? Lion Sora asked incredulously. Counselor Vasquez smiled. What better way to ensure that only those truly interested in peaceful exchange come to Earth? The warlike avoid us. The curious seek us out. Natural selection at the civilizational level. Ambassador Lyonsora rose from her seat, her willowy form seeming to sway with the weight of realization. You've created a filter. A system that gradually transforms galactic civilization not through force, but through example and invitation. Precisely, Chen confirmed. And now we extend that invitation to the Galactic Confederation. Not to surrender, not to be absorbed, but to join us in conversation about a different path forward, one that breaks the cycle of expansion and collapse that has defined galactic civilization for too long. Admiral Zextor's mechanical features couldn't show emotion, but his voice carried a note of wonder. All this time, we thought Earth had no defenses, but your defense was making conquest irrelevant. The strongest fortress, Elder Kvex said softly, is one the enemy has no desire to attack. As the diplomatic mission extended from days into weeks, the delegates found themselves immersed in human culture and philosophy, not through coercion, but through genuine exchange. They toured Earth's cities, where architectural elements from 100 alien civilizations had been seamlessly incorporated into human designs. They observed education systems where children learned the histories and languages of species that had visited Earth centuries before. And most importantly, they spoke freely with representatives of those expeditionary forces that had disappeared, beings who had arrived as conquerors and remained as colleagues, their knowledge and cultural perspectives becoming part of Earth's ever-growing synthesis. 1 month after their arrival, the delegates prepared to return to the Confederation with their report. As they boarded the Celestial Inquiry, High Counselor Chen presented them with a small crystal sphere. A token of our meeting, he explained. It contains no advanced technology, no hidden influence, merely a record of our conversations and an open invitation for further dialogue. Ambassador Lyonsora accepted the gift with formal grace. The Confederation will have many questions, many fears to overcome. As did we all, Admiral Krasvorn said, having come to bid them farewell. Tell them what you have seen here. Tell them we await them not as conquerors or conquered, but as equals on a new path. As the Celestial Inquiry rose from Earth's surface, the 3 delegates watched the blue planet recede. What will you tell the Confederation? Admiral Zextor asked the ambassador. Lionsora's elegant fingers cradled the crystal sphere. The truth. That Earth has no defenses because it has no enemies. That it has found a path beyond the cycle of conquest and resistance. And will they believe you? Elder Kvex asked. Some will, some won't. She turned to face her companions. But they'll all be curious. And in the end, isn't that what Earth is counting on? As their ship accelerated away from the Sol system, Earth continued its patient vigil, neither expanding outward nor hiding away, but simply waiting to welcome the next visitors who would find their way to its shores, whether they came in peace or war. For in the end, all who discovered Earth found the same thing. Not an enemy to be conquered or a victim to be subjugated, but a mirror reflecting a different possibility for civilization itself. The mystery of Earth was no mystery at all. It was simply an invitation to evolve. The Celestial Inquiry descended through Earth's atmosphere, guided by the transmitted coordinates to a massive structure built into the side of a mountain. As they approached, they saw that the building complex extended deep into the mountain itself. Layers upon layers of architecture that seemed to represent dozens of different alien design philosophies, somehow melded into a harmonious whole. Those are Mordal support arches, Admiral Zextor noted, his mechanical eyes focusing on specific elements. And there, Con energy collection arrays, Cindy defensive positions. They've incorporated architectural elements from every species that ever contacted them. Their vessel landed on a designated platform where a reception committee awaited, a diverse group of humans dressed in formal attire that subtly referenced the diplomatic fashion of various galactic cultures. As the airlock cycled open, Ambassador Lyonsora straightened her posture. Remember, we are here to understand, not to judge or fear. Whatever has happened to previous expeditions, we must approach with open minds. The three delegates descended from their ship and were greeted by a human woman whose dignity and presence immediately marked her as a leader. Ambassador Alliance Sora, Admiral Zextor, Elder Kvex. I am Counselor Elena Vasquez of the United Earth Council. We are honored by your visit and the opportunity it presents for greater understanding between Earth and the Galactic Confederation. Her pronunciation of their names and titles was flawless, her manner perfectly calibrated to the diplomatic protocols of each of their cultures. Counselor Vasquez, Lion Sora replied with a formal Zeth-Terry greeting gesture. We thank you for your welcome. We come seeking knowledge and understanding of Earth and its unique position in galactic affairs. Vasquez smiled warmly, and we are eager to provide that understanding. Please, follow me. The Council awaits. As they were led through corridors that somehow managed to feel familiar to each of them, despite their vastly different biological needs and cultural backgrounds, Admiral Zextor quietly scanned their surroundings with his cybernetic enhancements. No weapons, he murmured to his companions. No security forces, no obvious defenses of any kind. Perhaps they don't need them, Elder Kvex replied softly. They were ushered into a grand chamber where 12 humans sat around a circular table with 3 empty seats clearly prepared for the delegates. The walls of the chamber were lined with artifacts, items the delegates recognized as technological and cultural treasures from dozens of spacefaring civilizations. Welcome to Earth, spoke an elderly human male at the head of the table. I am High Counselor Marcus Chen. We have awaited this diplomatic contact for some time. You expected us specifically? Lion Sora asked. We expected the Confederation would eventually send diplomats rather than conquerors, another counselor replied. It was the logical next step in our relationship. Admiral Zextor's patience frayed. Where is the Vraxian fleet? What have you done with them? High Counselor Chen smiled gently. They are here, Admiral. They are well. They have chosen to join us, as so many before them have chosen. Chosen implies free will, the Admiral retorted. History suggests otherwise. A ripple of what seemed like genuine surprise passed through the human counselors. You believe we force others to join us? Asked Counselor Vasquez. That we conquer through some form of coercion or mind control. Elder Kvex leaned forward. What else should we believe? Dozens of militarized expeditions enter this system. None leave. Yet Earth remains isolated, making no move to expand beyond its own solar system. It defies all patterns of civilizational development we have observed throughout the galaxy. High Counselor Chen nodded thoughtfully. I understand how it must appear from your perspective. Perhaps it's best if we show you rather than tell you. Would you consent to meet some of those who came before you? The delegates exchanged glances, then Lion Sora nodded cautiously. We would. Chen touched a control on the table. Please join us. A door slid open, and several figures entered, beings the delegates recognized instantly. A Vraxian officer in the uniform of the recent expedition. A Moordal whose species have been thought extinct for millennia. Representatives of a dozen other civilizations that had disappeared after encountering Earth. But they weren't prisoners. They moved freely, confidently, and took seats among the human counselors as equals. The Vraxian stepped forward. I am Fleet Admiral Krasvorn of the former Imperial Vraxian Expeditionary Force. I understand your confusion and fear. I shared it once. The fleet has vanished, he announced without preamble. 20 warships, over 15,000 of our finest warriors and technicians. All communication ceased shortly after they entered Earth orbit. The scout vessel Distant Whisper, which maintained position at the edge of the system, reported that the fleet appeared to land on the planet's surface voluntarily. Then the Whisper itself went silent. Murmurs rippled through the gathered representatives. A tall, willowy figure rose from the Zeth-Terry delegation. Ambassador Lion Sora, known for her encyclopedic knowledge of galactic history. This is not without precedent, she said, her melodic voice silencing the chamber. I have consulted our archives. Earth appears repeatedly throughout our records, though often under different designations. The holoprojector in the center of the chamber activated, displaying a series of star charts and ancient texts. The Moordal Empire encountered Earth approximately 7,000 standard cycles ago. They sent a conquest fleet of comparable size to yours. None returned. She gestured, and the display changed. That condescendency 5,000 cycles ago. Same result. The Xindi Coalition, the Dominion of Rigel, the Vorta Commonwealth. The pattern repeats at least 37 times in our recorded history. Grand Archon Tiplax's mandibles clicked rapidly in distress. Impossible. No pre-FTL species could defeat so many advanced civilizations. From the shadows at the edge of the chamber came a rasping voice. Who said they're pre-FTL? All eyes turned to Elder Kivex of the Observers, one of the oldest living beings in the Confederation. The ancient creature hobbled forward, his withered body supported by a hovering exoskeleton. I have watched the stars for over 900 cycles, the Elder continued. I have observed many species rise and fall. But humans are different. The chamber fell silent as the Elder reached the center. They do not expand outward as other species do. They build inward. They strengthen. They wait. The Elder's multifaceted eyes gleamed, and they welcome every species that discovers them with the exact same message. We've been expecting you. Ambassador Lionsora's brow furrowed. Are you suggesting they're not truly pre-FTL? That it's some kind of deception? I am suggesting, the Elder replied carefully, that humans may not define technological advancement the way we do. While we measure progress by expansion and conquest, they appear to measure it by incorporation. Incorporation. Grand Archon Tiplax repeated. Explain yourself, Elder. Each species that encounters Earth and does not return, their knowledge, their technology, their very essence becomes part of humanity. Not through conquest, but through some form of cultural and technological absorption. The chamber erupted in shouts and questions until the Grand Archon raised his limbs for silence. This is mere speculation. We need facts. I propose a full quarantine of the Sol system while we investigate. Quarantine will fail, interrupted a new voice. All turned to see Admiral Zextor, one of the few surviving veterans of the Moordal contact with Earth millennia ago. The Admiral's cybernetic enhancements hummed as he approached the center of the chamber. I was a junior officer when my people encountered Earth. I survived only because my vessel was assigned to the observation post at the edge of their system, much like your distant whisper. He activated a personal holoprojector, displaying ancient footage captured from that long-ago encounter. We approached as conquerors. They welcomed us as guests. Our fleet admiral decided to proceed with the invasion. Our ships entered orbit. Then something changed. The footage showed Moordal warships, designed similar yet obviously ancient compared to modern vessels, descending toward Earth's surface, not in attack formation, but in the orderly pattern of diplomatic landings. Our command structure simply accepted their invitation. Our warriors laid down weapons and walked willingly into their waiting arms. The Admiral's voice grew distant with memory. I received one final transmission from my fleet commander before communication ceased. He said, "They already know everything about us. They have always known. And now we will become part of something greater." Silence smothered the chamber as the implication sank in. Grand Archon Tiplax finally spoke, his voice unnaturally steady. "Are you suggesting some form of mind control technology?" Admiral Zextor's mechanical eyes whirred as they focused. "No, something far more insidious. Something that makes conquest seem unnecessary." My observation vessel maintained position for 3 standard months as ordered. We observed continuous transmissions between our landed fleet and orbital facilities that appeared on Earth's moon. Facilities that hadn't been there when we arrived. The observation. The Vraxian scout vessel Distant Whisper drifted silently at the edge of the Sol system, its sensors carefully mapping the unremarkable yellow star and its collection of planets. Captain Zevnorax, a veteran of the Imperial expansion fleet, studied the holographic display with 4 of his 6 eyes, while his auxiliary pair remained fixed on the bridge crew. Fascinating. He chittered, mandibles clicking thoughtfully. 3rd planet from the star. Liquid water oceans, nitrogen-oxygen atmosphere, and biosignatures everywhere. Life, abundant life. Science Officer Krelvex slithered to his side, her scaled body iridescent under the bridge lights. Captain, we're detecting artificial structures across the planet's surface. Primitive orbital installations. Rudimentary spacecraft. Evidence of a technological civilization. Pre-FTL? Zevnorax asked, already anticipating the answer. Affirmative, Krelvex confirmed. They've barely reached their own satellite. No defensive grid. No planetary shield. No detection systems beyond their immediate orbital space. The captain's mandibles clicked in what passed for a Vraxian smile. The Emperor will be pleased. Resource-rich worlds with breathable atmospheres are increasingly rare in our sector, and one that requires minimal subjugation effort. A true find. Communications Officer Trellmox raised a tentacled appendage. Captain, there's something else. I've been monitoring their information broadcasts. They're unusual. Unusual how? Zevnorax swiveled his primary eyes toward the officer. They seem to be broadcasting fiction about alien invasions. Thousands of narratives about their world being attacked by extraterrestrial forces. Trellmox's voice carried a note of confusion. And in nearly all these fictitious scenarios, they emerge victorious. The bridge fell silent for a moment before Security Chief Dravzor chittered with amusement. Primitive species often create mythology to explain their fears. They've observed the stars and imagined threats. It's actually quite convenient for us. They've prepared their population psychologically for our arrival. Zevnorax nodded slowly. Transmit our findings to Imperial Command. Recommend an expeditionary force for immediate conquest and resource extraction. This Earth will make a fine addition to the Empire. 3 cycles later, the Vraxian expeditionary fleet arrived at the edge of the Sol system. 20 warships carrying the Empire's finest warriors. Fleet Admiral Krasvorn's massive form dominated the command bridge of the dreadnought Imperial Fist. Status report, he demanded, voice reverberating through the chamber. All ships in formation. Admiral, his executive officer replied promptly. The humans remain unaware of our presence. Their detection systems are as primitive as reported. Krasvorn flexed his armored exoskeleton with satisfaction. Excellent. Prepare the standard intimidation approach. We'll position ourselves over their major population centers, jam their communications, and demand immediate surrender. If they resist, we'll demonstrate our power by eliminating one of their smaller cities. Science Officer Krelvex, who had been transferred to the flagship for the operation, approached the Admiral with uncharacteristic hesitation. Admiral, if I may. Speak, Science Officer. I've been studying the intelligence gathered by the distant whisper. There are inconsistencies. The Admiral's secondary eyes narrowed. Explain. The human's technological level appears deliberately understated. Their orbital constructions are primitive, yes, but their global information network contains theoretical knowledge far beyond their apparent capabilities. And there's something else. She paused, seeming almost embarrassed. There's no record of any previous contact with this world in our archives. Why is that significant? Krasvorn asked impatiently. Because every inhabited world in our charted galaxy has documentation of first contact, colonization attempts, or at minimum, observation reports. This planet has none. It's as if Kralvex's scales shifted color slightly, displaying her discomfort, as if everyone who discovered it chose to leave it alone. Fleet Admiral Krasvorn dismissed her concerns with a wave of his armored claw. Primitive worlds are often overlooked until their resources become valuable. This one simply escaped notice until now. Proceed with the operation as planned. As the Vraxian fleet accelerated toward Earth, Captain Zevnorax of the Distant Whisper found himself assigned to the vanguard position. His ship would be among the first to enter Earth's orbit, a position of honor, but also one of initial risk should the humans possess unexpected defenses. "Captain," Communications Officer Trelmox called out, "I'm detecting directed transmissions from the planet. They're broadcasting directly toward our fleet on multiple frequencies." "And what happened to your observation vessel?" asked Ambassador Lyansora. The Admiral's mechanical features couldn't show emotion, but his voice carried a tremor. "We received a transmission from Earth. Just 3 words. Join your brothers." My captain gave the order to retreat. 2/3 of our crew mutinied, stole escape pods, and piloted them to Earth's surface. The rest of us barely escaped with our lives. Elder Kvex nodded slowly. "The greatest weapon in the universe is not destruction, but seduction. Humans don't need planetary defenses because they've evolved beyond the concept of resistance. They welcome, they absorb, they incorporate, and in doing so, they grow stronger with each attempted invasion." Grand Archon Teplax's exoskeleton rattled with agitation. "This is unacceptable. If what you say is true, this Earth represents an existential threat to galactic civilization itself. We must take action." "What action would you suggest, Archon?" Elder Kvex asked with the patience of centuries. "Attack them. You've seen the result. Quarantine them. Based on historical patterns, they're perfectly content to remain in their system, waiting for others to come to them." From the back of the chamber, a voice called out, a representative of the Tellerate Mining Consortium. Perhaps a diplomatic approach, a formal contact, transparent in nature, to establish their true intentions. Murmurs of consideration spread through the assembly. Grand Archon Teplax clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. "Perhaps," he conceded, "but who would volunteer for such a mission? Who would risk becoming incorporated?" Silence fell again until Ambassador Lyansora rose once more from her seat. "The Zeth-Terri have never sought conquest or expansion. Our philosophy has always been one of knowledge and understanding. Perhaps we are the most suitable for this task." "You would risk yourself, Ambassador?" asked the Grand Archon. Her willowy form seemed to strengthen with resolve. "Knowledge always carries risk, Archon, but ignorance is far more dangerous." Elder Kvex hobbled forward again. "I will accompany the Ambassador. My time grows short in any case. If I am to join the cosmic dust, I would prefer it be in pursuit of the greatest mystery of our age." Admiral Zextor's cybernetics whirred. "I have carried the memory of Earth for centuries. I will face it again, to find closure if nothing else." Grand Archon Teplax regarded the 3 volunteers, his compound eyes reflecting the chamber's lights. "So be it. We will prepare a diplomatic vessel. Small, unarmed, clearly marked with symbols of peaceful contact. You will depart in 3 cycles." As the chamber dispersed, Elder Kvex approached the Admiral and Ambassador in private. "There is something I have not shared with the Assembly," he whispered, "a pattern I have observed across centuries." His ancient eyes darted around, ensuring they weren't overheard. "Every civilization that has encountered Earth and disappeared has later been detected, in fragments, spreading throughout the galaxy. Not as conquerors, but as influencers, traders, storytellers, carrying elements of human culture and patterns of human thought to the farthest reaches of space." "What are you suggesting?" Ambassador Lyansora asked. The Elder's voice dropped even lower. "That Earth is not merely absorbing those who find it. It is using them as vessels, seeds, planted throughout the cosmos." "For what purpose?" Admiral Zextor demanded. "That," said Elder Kvex, "is what we must discover." Part 3. The Revelation. The diplomatic vessel Celestial Inquiry approached Earth's orbit with cautious dignity. Unlike the military fleets that had preceded it, this ship made no attempt at stealth or intimidation. Its hull gleamed with the universal symbols of peaceful contact, recognized throughout the civilized galaxy. Ambassador Lionsaura stood on the observation deck, her willowy form silhouetted against the growing blue sphere of Earth. Admiral Zextor and Elder Kvex joined her, the Admiral's cybernetics humming softly in the silence. "It's beautiful," Lionsaura admitted. "So much water, so much life." "Beauty is often the most effective lure," the Admiral replied grimly. Before anyone could respond, the communications system activated. A human voice, speaking perfect Zeth-Terry, filled the chamber. "Welcome, Ambassador Lionsaura, Admiral Zextor, and Elder Kvex of the Observers. Earth welcomes the Galactic Confederation's diplomatic mission. Please proceed to the coordinates being transmitted to your navigation system. The United Earth Council is assembled and eager to meet with you." The three delegates exchanged glances. "They know who we are," Lionsaura whispered. "They know why we've come." "They always do," Elder Kvex replied, his ancient eyes unreadable. Zevnorax chittered in surprise. "They've detected us already. That contradicts our intelligence about their capabilities." "The message is being broadcast in." Trelmox paused, manipulating controls with his tentacles, in perfect Imperial Vraxian. "Sir." The bridge fell silent. "That's impossible," Security Chief Dravzor stated flatly. "They can't possibly know our language." "Relay the message," Zevnorax ordered, a sense of unease creeping along his exoskeleton. The bridge speakers crackled to life with a calm, almost conversational voice speaking flawlessly in their native tongue. "Attention approaching Vraxian fleet. This is Earth Diplomatic Corps. We welcome you to the Sol system and look forward to establishing peaceful relations. Please maintain your current trajectory. Landing coordinates for your diplomatic delegation are being transmitted now. We are preparing appropriate refreshments and accommodations for your species. End transmission." Captain Zevnorax felt his blood run cold. They knew we were coming. They know who we are. They know our language and our physiological needs. Perhaps another spacefaring race has provided them with information, Science Officer Krelvex suggested, but her changing scale colors betrayed her doubt. Before anyone could respond, the fleet-wide communication system activated. Admiral Krasvorn's voice resonated through every ship. "This changes nothing. The primitives have somehow obtained basic information about our species. Perhaps from scattered transmissions, perhaps from spies. It matters not. The conquest proceeds as planned. All ships prepare for orbital positioning." The fleet accelerated toward Earth, and the blue-green planet grew larger on their view screens. As they approached orbital insertion, Captain Zevnorax noticed something strange about Earth's moon. "Magnify the lunar surface," he ordered. The view screen zoomed in on what should have been barren regolith. Instead, they saw extensive structures, artificial canyons carved into the surface in precise geometric patterns. And as the computer enhanced the image further, the patterns resolved into enormous glyphs. Written in perfect Vraxian script were the words, "WLCOMENUVRAIAN. Please follow protocol." Science Officer Kralvex's scales paled to almost white. "Captain, those structures would take decades to build." They knew we were coming. They'd been preparing for us specifically. "All ships, maintain formation," Admiral Krasvorn's voice commanded over the fleet channel. "These are psychological tactics, nothing more. Proceed to intimidation positions." As the fleet approached Earth orbit, thousands of small objects detached from the planet's surface, rising rapidly toward them. "Weapons?" Zevnorax asked sharply. "Negative," Security Chief Dravzor replied. "They appear to be small spacecraft, extremely primitive. No weapons signatures detected." The tiny vessels surrounded the Vraxian ships, keeping precise distances. Then, in perfect synchronization, they illuminated, creating a dazzling light display that spelled out words in the void of space, visible to every ship in the fleet. Well, celebration come sing. Please enjoy the show. What followed was a choreographed performance of light and movement that left the Vraxian crews speechless. The primitive spacecraft danced around their capital ships in complex patterns impossible for such basic technology. Admiral, Captain Zev Norax transmitted urgently to the flagship. Something is very wrong here. These humans are not what they appear to be. I strongly recommend we withdraw and reassess. The Admiral's response was immediate and harsh. You forget yourself, Captain. The Empire does not retreat. The humans are simply more clever with their limited technology than we anticipated. It changes nothing. As the flagship Imperial Fist moved into position above Earth's largest city, a single human transmission was broadcast directly to Admiral Krasvorn. We're so pleased you've decided to join us. Your rooms have been prepared for centuries. We do hope you'll find them comfortable. The pattern emerges. 3 Vraxian months after the expeditionary fleet entered the Sol system, the Imperial High Command convened an emergency session. The chamber, designed to accommodate representatives of all 100 major species of the Galactic Confederation, was unusually crowded. News had spread quickly throughout civilized space. Grand Archon Teplax of the Vraxian Empire stood before the assembly, his exoskeleton polished to a ceremonial shine that did little to mask his agitation.